officers mock Elijah Mcclain's murder with this picture. Let's just let's take a look at this. What the mainstream media is saying about this. So, Yahoo News says Elijah Mcclain, U.S. officers fired for pictures mocking man's death. So let's just take a look at this. This was on July 4th. I believe the pictures were released on July 3rd. 3 U.S. police officers in Colorado have been sacked after they shared photos reenacting a chokehold used on a black man who later died. Elijah Mcclain, 23, died in August last year after being stopped by police. And then another officer resigned over the matter. A local police chief called the images beyond comprehension. So, okay, what I have here. Okay, so in this picture, it is exactly imitating the carotid hold that was used on Elijah Mcclain. So here's a in-depth picture, and I added their names just so you know who these people are.
You barely even see it.
So you see he has his arm here, and then he has his left arm with his hand behind his head. So that's exactly the same way that you do that hold. So let's look at how that chokehold looks like, so you can see.
The first thing I discovered is police aren't the only ones to use a chokehold. It's also a martial arts move.
How are you doing? How are you? Good, thanks. Good.
Matt Scheib is a black belt judo instructor. Turns out there's a lot of ways to choke someone, but really only 2 styles. Cut off the oxygen supply to the lungs or cut off the blood to the brain. Matt is good enough to demonstrate both on me, starting with the air supply choke.
Okay. Well, all right, so that's the restricting the airflow by simply pressing up against the windpipe here. And it cuts off your ability to talk as well as cuts off your ability to breathe.
Puts a frog in your throat.
All right. Next step is this is the blood flow one, right?
Okay. And same thing, when you feel it, just tap.
All right.
Yeah, that's...
As you can see, he put his arm behind again, so his hand is behind the head, and he has his arm around there. So this is it stops blood flow to your brain.
Which is obviously...
Okay. That one creates a sensation of lightheadedness. You can definitely, you sort of get that tunnel vision thing and much quicker.
It is the last choke, that blood supply choke, experts say is the safer of the 2 techniques because it's easier to restore blood flow than it is to get someone breathing again. Phil Holloway's the next guy to wrap his arms around my neck. He's actually an attorney.
You tell me, what does that feel like? It makes it very difficult to talk or get a strong breath.
You should have gotten pasta to get some chokeholds. Get chokeholded.
That'd be great.
Anyways, I just wanted to show you how that hold was done, right? And then take a look at this picture again and see that it's the exact same hold, and they're all smiling. She's smiling. He's making a little face, and he's smiling. Kyle Dittrich here.
Was Kyle Dittrich was the one who actually choked him, right?
No, none of these officers are actually involved.
They're
okay,
just
my bad.
officers.
So
these this was on that same page. Okay.
Yeah, so Yahoo News, they only show this picture, and then they talk about a little bit about it. We are ashamed. The Vanessa Wilson, who is the acting police chief in Aurora now, we are ashamed and we are sickened and we are angry about what I have to share, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to go into a deeper thing. But
So they fired them?
Yes, they're all fired.
So just so you guys know, the problem with them being fired is that what often happens is they have this...
They didn't get their shit gone. Like they should have their certification gone.
Yeah, so they can be
apply to
rehired by another
else,
police department.
Police department.
And they're probably still getting paid. Probably still getting paid. Usually that's what they do when they fire these cops. They give them
Right.
What is it called?
Paid leave?
Paid leave is what they give them 9 times out of 10. So I mean.
Okay, so 2 officers, the woman and Dittrich, Kyle Dittrich here, Erica Marrero and Kyle Dittrich are appealing their termination, and this came out July 6th. So it says here, 2 of the officers seen in the now infamous photos taken near a memorial for it was taken by the memorial, by the way, for Elijah Mcclain, will appeal their terminations, their lawyer tells CBS 4. Jaron Jones resigned a while ago, but Marrero and Dittrich were fired on Friday, last Friday. And another officer, Rosenblatt, was terminated, and he was actually, I think he was involved in the killing of Elijah McClain. Rosenblatt.
This is the Aurora PD.
This is Aurora Police Department. So they say the photos were taken in October 2019. Police contacted McClain in August 2019. The 23-year-old was walking home from a store when a passerby called 911 and were reporting that he was acting odd. It's actually said that he was just like waving his arms up and stuff like that. So that's really suspicious, right? 3 officers responded. They don't say the name of the officers. Anyways, it goes over the whole story about how they used the chokehold, gave him ketamine, and then he died. Okay, hold on. Let me just find out really quick. 3 officers involved in McClain's death. Sorry, I should have done this before.
New developments in the case of 23-year-old Elijah McClain, who died in police custody. The 3 officers who stopped and restrained him before his death have been reassigned to non-enforcement duty. Aurora police tell us this was to, quote, keep the officer safe and not punishment. Police used a chokehold on McClain and medics gave...
Yeah. Paz, if you can go to that one page, remember we saw We Want Wanted. Remember, we showed the officers who did it, right?
I don't even know where that's at.
It's on Instagram. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know how I would.
Anyways, okay, so you see in this this CBS article, again, there's only showing that one picture, and that is it. So 2 of those officers
as we first reported at 5
trying to appeal it. So now okay. So here I went and found the official Aurora Police Department's blog. Aurora blogs, Aurora Police News, statement from Chief of Police. So today, July 3rd, Interim Chief Vanessa Wilson announced the termination of 3 employees after an internal investigation determined their involvement with selfie photographs taken at the memorial site for Elijah McClain on October 20th, 2019. Chief Wilson terminated Eric Marrero, Mikhail Dittrich, and Jason Rosenblatt. Former employee Jaron Jones resigned on June 30th prior to the pre-disciplinary hearing. So the guy doing the chokehold already quit before that.
I'm gonna get that. I got that.
So here they said Chief Wilson understands the devastating impact this incident has had on the relationship between the community and the department. She believes that transparency is paramount on beginning to rebuild that relationship. Therefore, Internal Affairs File 2025 can be found by clicking here. I went to the Internal Affairs file, but also real quick, I want to show you that they had a press conference, a Twitter live stream, and there was actually 2 pictures that they released, which mainstream media hasn't been showing. So there's that one, and then here's the second one. So here they're smiling, and you can see candlelit Elijah McClain's memorial there. So at first, when I saw this, I didn't think anything about this picture. I was like, oh, they just took a selfie, right? But why did they include it? Oh, it turns out if you read their fucking Internal Affairs file, they say that they took this picture at Elijah's memorial, and you can see it in the background, right? So that is insane. Okay, so now I went into the Internal Affairs file, and so we'll just go through some shit that I've highlighted. There's a lot to read, and I've been reading through it, and there's some weird stuff in there. I'm going to try to get access to the audio and video recordings that they did of the interviews of each police that they did.
For sure.
Let's look through some of it. This is the beginning of my notes. I'm going into a deeper dive later. So let's take a look. So here it says Agent Tom Sobeski and Sergeant Chris Cruiser were briefed on an internal complaint that was received by the chief's office. In summary, we're told earlier this day, Officer Blank. So this is the officer. They blank his name out because he's the one that brought this complaint forward.
Okay.
So they're keeping him. They're protecting his name, right?
So we had a police officer step forward.
Yeah, we did. Officer Blank had announced at a FOP board meeting that he was told by Officer Jason Rosenblatt that he had received photos showing Aurora police officers Nathan Woodyard, Kyle Dittrich, and Erica Marrera at Elijah McClain's gravesite, and that they were drinking alcohol. We were told Officer Blank, Sergeant Mark Sears, and Officer Mike Levine then went into District 3 where Officer Rosenblatt was working and asked him about the photos, and he denied it asking where they had gotten that information. So this Rosenblatt guy denied getting the pictures. Okay? So the next thing, Sergeant Sears, which is he's the sergeant, so he's kind of doing the investigation. They had a meeting, right? And then this Officer Blank, who brought it up, said they went to District 3 to go find Rosenblatt, right? And that's when he denied it. So Sergeant Sears was advised, what was understood was that during this meeting, some information came to light and that caused him some concern. He said they were getting ready to conclude the meeting when Officer Blank said he had some information that he wanted to bring to their attention. This is kind of how it went down, right? Sergeant Sears said that Officer Blank said that he was at a social engagement with Officer Rosenblatt when he said that he needed to tell him something. Sergeant Sears said he believed Rosenblatt was one of the officers involved in the Elijah McClain incident. So he was. Yeah, Rosenblatt was one of the officers involved. So Sergeant Sears said that Officer Blank told him that Officer Rosenblatt told him that he had received an unannounced text message via his phone with some pictures of some of our officers who were around Elijah McClain's gravesite. He said Officer Blank said the way Rosenblatt explained it, it was more of a jovial sense. They were poking fun and joking and laughing. Okay. On to the next one.
Yeah, that's a subject you want to poke fun and laugh at. Just by the way, sorry. Go ahead.
Exactly.
It's disgusting. Fucking assholes.
Okay.
Sorry, Mom. I love you.
So on this one, Rosenblatt lied again, and Officer Judy Lutkin, president of the labor organization that Rosenblatt is a part of, said some bad shit. So Sergeant Sears said he then got an unrelated phone call. So they went to District 3, and then the Sergeant Sears, along with the Officer Blank, who did the thing, and then another officer was also there. And so Sergeant Sears, they approached Rosenblatt, and then, they were kind of talking to him, and that's when he lied. He said, how'd you find out this information? So then he got an unrelated phone call from Deputy Chief Glidden, whatever, and stepped out of the office. He said he observed Officer Blank and Officer Levine, which is the third officer that went to District 3, come out of the office, go into the main hallway of District 3. He said he went and started talking with Officers Blank and Levine, and they were trying to meet with Officer Judy Lutkin because he knew she is president of the labor organization that Rosenblatt belongs to. That's important. Officer Judy Lutkin is the president of the labor organization that Rosenblatt belongs to. Sergeant Sears then saw Officer Lutkin, which is Judy Lutkin, who is the president of the labor organization, in the hallway, and then saw Officer Rosenblatt approach Officer Lutkin and asked her if he could speak with her prior to talking to them. He said Officer Lutkin and Rosenblatt then left the hallway. So Rosenblatt, who received the text message photo, went and spoke to his labor president, and then before that labor president went and spoke to Sergeant Sears, the officers investigating. Sergeant Sears said Officer Blank was upset with Rosenblatt, who he said had lied to them. He said he then called Interim Chief Wilson and told her there was serious allegations that needed to discuss. So Sergeant Sears called the chief. Okay, while he was on the phone, he observed Officer Lutkin come and speak with Officer Blank and Officer Levine. He said he could not hear this conversation. He said he was told by Blank and Levine that Officer Lutkin told him it was not illegal to be at a gravesite. He said he was a little taken aback by that statement. So we see here how they're trying to say it's not illegal for them to be at a gravesite and take this picture or whatever, right? So it's kind of like they're siding with those cops, right? The president of the labor organization.
Well, that's why people are against police unions, because the police unions aren't just like any other unions. They basically are there to ensure that no matter what they do, they get away with a slap on the wrist and they can go work somewhere else, or etc.
But you see how this is a real life example of how that system works, right? Okay.
Right.
So let's, Sergeant Sears said he got down to District 3. He said he did not record the meeting with Officer Rosenblatt. Okay. Sergeant Sears specifically remembered Officer Rosenblatt saying, "How did you find out about this?" And that he denied telling Officer Blank about it. He said Rosenblatt did not deny getting the actual pictures. So Officer Rosenblatt was told how serious this would be if it got out, and Rosenblatt was asking, well, how would it get out? He said Officer Rosenblatt used some technological term on how he erased the photos. He said Rosenblatt was downplaying it like this wasn't that big of a deal. He said he never heard. Okay, so Sergeant Sears says he never heard anyone yelling or screaming during this meeting, and when he took the phone call, was 10 feet away from the door. Rosenblatt said that Officer Levine had his fist clenched, was standing over his desk yelling at him. So you see Rosenblatt is saying that, oh, they're being aggressive, yelling at me. But you have Sergeant Sears who's saying that there was no yelling happening, right? So that's Rosenblatt has a history of lying here 3 times already, okay? 3 times. And, okay. Yeah, and
I like the way they could just call the union representative right away to fucking save their ass.
Yeah, right?
Like, get on the horn. Like, let me talk to my union. Let me, you know what I'm saying? Let's not even just, let's sidestep the fact that you're going to a guy's grave and you're taking pictures and mocking a kid who was on the spectrum that didn't do anything, who said he wouldn't even kill flies.
He was killed.
Well, Rosenblatt received that picture, right? And he was one of the officers involved. And I'm not sure if he did the chokehold. I got to see I got to do that. I got to go deeper into that. So Sergeant Sears said Officer Blank did not tell him if Officer Rosenblatt told him who sent the photos to him. He said the way it was explained to him by Blank that it was part of a group chat with numerous people. Okay? So they sent this photo, mocking Elijah McClain's death, taking a selfie at the memorial for Elijah McClain with smiling faces and shit to a group chat. Why is there a group chat?
Well, I think someone from the group chat is probably the one who took those photos and leaked them, huh?
Yes.
So at least we have somebody of decency within that chat. But the fact there is a
group chat
for like,
so what does that tell you? That there's a fucking community inside the police
there's
department
that's
fucking racist as fuck, and they're
It's
fucking sick as fuck. Who are get off on this shit?
Yep.
They get off on this shit.
You're right. There's a culture like that, and it's within the police department. But thank God we have some people coming forward and exposing these assholes. Whoever was in that chat and took these photos and exposed them, thank you. All these people should be fired, let go, and anybody involved with Elijah McClain's death should be charged.
Yeah, and
not just with manslaughter.
This just goes to show you that you can't reform that.
Yeah.
You how do you reform the issue where there are people that genuinely believe this kid? It's funny that they killed him. Like they're mocking it into everyone's faces.
They're mocking the actual death of how they killed him.
You can't. They're getting joy out of it. Like you can't reform that. You can't. You have to completely start over with a different kind of even hiring process. The people we hire have to be different. We can't be hiring people who just want to have power and want to have a gun and want to be above somebody else. We like the whole. This is why reforming doesn't work. This is why, to people who don't understand why people are so adamant about defunding the police, it literally means completely change the way the whole police system has worked. You can use whatever word you want, but all of it has to change, because if it doesn't, if you just do little tweaks here and there, it's still going to happen. They're still going to protect each other. It's just like the Democratic Party. I mean, you can't reform that shit. Like, you got to start over. Like, this is a whole systemic problem. And
it is like the Democratic Party.
We have to address it. Yeah.
All these institutions mock them, you know what I'm saying? Johnny, is that it for that story?
No, I got a couple more. Hold on. So that was like a big main point, right? That there's a culture of that, right?
Yes.
So it also, so he said, so Officer Blank said Officer Rosenblatt told him that some officers had sent him pictures from Elijah McClain's gravesite. He said he didn't remember the exact conversation. What he remembered was Officer Rosenblatt told him the pictures showed them drinking and taking selfies, hanging out at the grave in a joking manner. So it's okay. This whole investigation doesn't even go into drinking on the job, right?
Right.
They were drinking on the job and they took that picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which,
so
I don't know. Other than bartenders, I don't know who.
Yeah,
can
well, maybe
drink
they
on
just
the
got
job.
off. What else you got, Johnny?
God.
Officer Blank said that he was in shock with this. I just kind of wanted to emphasize what who this Officer Blank, all his statements are saying, right? Because this is an interview, and they kind of summarize the interview. So Officer Blank said that he was in shock with this information. He thought who would do that, and that it was disgusting, and it took a long time for him to process it, calling it shocking. Yep. He said they did do this. He can't work with people like that. He said if they did do this, he can't work with people like that, and that they don't deserve to be in this profession. Yeah. He said regardless of what crime anyone ever committed, a death is a death, and a human life is a human life, and it should all be respected. So shout out to this good officer. Yeah. I mean, I'm really interested in seeing the interview to see if it's genuine, you know? It sounds genuine on paper.
Let me tell you something,
It
John. I
sounds
think
very
it's genuine.
genuine
You know
on
why? Because whoever got the picture, leaked it to this guy.
Exactly.
Knowing that he would do this. So
Right.
I mean, so
Or
far
he
on the
got- or he
surface.
was-
or leaked it to him, showed it to him, thinking he might laugh, right?
Yeah. Or
And then it turns out this cop is actually good.
But also they can figure out
That could be true.
between all these who leaked in and who had access, all that, they can easily figure out who it was. So again, this isn't something like, even though they're protecting who it is, they can figure out who did it. Like, that's their number one thing now, is to figure out who's the rat. Who's the rat? Who's ratting us out?
Yeah.
That's because that goes against the
Who's
whole
the
police
snitch?
culture. Like, you've seen The
Exactly, no.
Departed.
Yeah. So he says it here. He says it. Officer Blank was asked why he did not come forward before now. And he said, it's a shitty situation to be in. The last thing you want to do is affect someone's livelihood, affect their family life. He said he understands by doing this, it will negatively impact him for sure and will affect his reputation.
Yep.
He said he knew it was the right thing to do and that he had to do it. It just took him a long time to build up the courage. Because what did they do? They go after officers who tattletale on
Yep.
other officers,
That's it.
right?
Yeah.
They
They ostracize them.
It is a gang.
They-
It is like a
like you
freaking
can never
gang.
trust that person, and then you ship it away. Johnny, is that it? Because we have people leaving our thing. Jimmy's going live. So
I got you. A couple last things. So Officer Rosenblatt was asked his opinion if the officers in the photo were grieving or making fun of Elijah McClain, and he said he did not want to give his opinion. So fucking Rosenblatt is a piece of shit. Officer Rosenblatt said he replied to the photo with "ha ha."
Huh.
And he asked what "ha ha" meant to him. He said, "People that know me that I have a nervous laugh and I wanted to give something short and concise and
Oh my
non-engaging."
God.
I got a
way,
nervous text
and
laugh.
just let
I got a
them-
nervous text
laugh.
Just let them know.
Oh, it's a nervous.
and kind of
About-
just be done with it.
Fucking
The nervous
Christ.
text laugh.
These people are such assholes.
So okay, so that's all my screenshots. But then I just really want to quickly show Dittrich. Okay, I can't show it because I would have to scroll down. Basically, this guy Dittrich, he admitted in the interview that it was his idea to take this photo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that's trying to get his job back, along with Erica Marrero here.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm still going deep into this packet. It's a big ass packet. It even says here, what does it say? It said, I don't know. It said something like, "Oh, the packet is so big that it might take a while to download." Is what.
But that's
it
that's
said.
the whole point.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, more to come with that.
Awesome.
I might write a Medium article for it.
Yeah, for sure.
There you, go,
should.
John. You should.
Absolutely. This is a lot of great information. A lot
I mean,
of
it
people,
really
nobody's
does show
really
the
talking
culture.
about
You're
this,
really
yeah.
exposing the culture of what goes on and how it
Yeah.
goes on there. You know what I'm saying? We always say that we need more police officers to stand up and point out the bad ones, whatnot, and that's what happened in this situation. And we need to really, show and spotlight those people
Yeah.
doing that. And we also need to find out and catch the ones that really, because we don't want a person like this on the street.
No.
If a person's going to go to somebody's grave, a kid on the spectrum, and do that shit after he was killed, we don't want him on the streets, bottom line.
No. We don't want them anywhere near our having power over people, having power to kill.